Welcome back to the All Out Club podcast, Mick, our first one of 2025, mates. And what a guest that we have. We're starting off with a bang. This man's had an incredible 24 months, captain of the Heat, captain of the Bulls. He's taken some polls. He's a movie star as well, believe it or not. If you haven't guessed already, Mitch Swepson, welcome to the pod, mate.
Thanks, welcome, Swep. Good to be here. Great summer of cricket, mind you, but the BBL's still in the thick of things. Thoughts on just Test cricket? How good was that series?
Yeah, it was unreal, wasn't it? Yeah, it was just. I mean, India Australia is always going to be gun. Two best teams going at it, and now that it's 5 tests, love that.
Do you reckon it's overtaken the Ashes? As like, how good's this? Like, it's almost better.
Oh, that's a hard question. I wouldn't say it's taken over the Ashes. I love beating the Poms. Like as an Aussie, beating the Poms, I think's up there with. That's hard to beat. But I reckon India in India. If you win that series, that's probably up there on par with the Ashes, I reckon. But yeah, it's great. It was great summer. Good close games and came down to the wire. Came down to that last session. I was watching that. It was nice.
Test cricket's definitely back.
Oh, it's back. It's back in every element. Mate, the Heat, we're currently 5th on the ladder. 3 wins, 2 or wash out, 2 games to go. Finals still there. Your assessment of the season so far?
Yeah, it's been. I mean, it's certainly been a bit different to last year. Last year, I think last year was a good indicator. You need a bit of luck to go your way for things to just pan out like they did last year. I mean, I think we lost 1 round game and then that first final, and they were the only 2 games we lost all year. And this year, we just found that, injuries, other things, external things that get in the way.
It's hard to get momentum.
Yeah, they can derail your season pretty quickly. But I think the fact that we've got 2 games left and we could still make a play at the finals, all to play for. It's a positive, and yeah, we just got to be good for this back end.
Do you think the shorter season for the BBL brings a bit more excitement, especially around this time?
Yeah, it's definitely the play. The 10 seasons, the 14 seasons were cactus, mate. They go way too long, holy.
Yeah.
So they've done well there, the BBL, to bring it back to 10. Definitely makes it a bit more interesting. You get more viewership, I think, and
definitely been better the last 2 years viewership.
Yeah. So as a player as well, I think you can draw in more overseas players that way as well. They don't want to come for 2 months, but they'll come for a month and a bit. So you see the quality of player coming, and it's helped in all assets there.
I think you're probably right. I mean, we've had a pretty disrupted season. I mean, Munro and Allsop went out first game with injury on the way down to Melbourne. Uzi and Marnus was obviously not going to play the amount of games that you were hoping for. And then that sort of gave you an opportunity to captain the side in Melbourne. You probably weren't expecting it, but did you enjoy the experience?
It's the most stressful 12 hours of my life. I literally got a phone call at 9 a.m. from Boats, who's their coach. He, in the morning, literally woke me up and was like, "Hey, mate, can you come downstairs ASAP?" And I was like, "Oh, is this serious?" So I go into the room and pretty much they were like, "Yep, Munners is gone, so's Tommy. So you'll be captaining. Both our overseas are gone. What do you think our 11 should be?" So and then I'm in there sort of like picking the team, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" So that was a stressful day, but I think once I got out on the field, your cricket instincts just take over. It was actually just the lead up that was quite nerve wracking, and I remember saying at the toss, Stoyan was asking about, if you boys got a few guys out, and I sort of said, "Yeah, mate, I think we're missing about 60% of our salary cap." So, and I think that's pretty close to what it was. So no Ness, no Spence, no Colin, no Allsop. So that was a great win, mate. We backs against the wall. Probably didn't deserve to win that game with that team, but we did. So that was good.
Do you ever stray away from I'm sure you have like a bowling plan with who you're going to bowl and when? Did you stray away from it much, or were you just like, "No, I'm just sticking with it"?
Mate, I thought about, like the under 12s, like you got the piece of paper in your pocket. And just put, okay, yeah, Swepson,
fielding positions.
Over, yeah. No, not quite like that. You have a rough idea. I mean, I think as far as it goes, you probably have an idea of who's going to bowl those first 2 or 3 overs.
Yeah,
and then I think the game sort of dictates what you need from there. So having Big Exy in your team who swings that ball nicely, he's always up there with one of those first 2 overs. So that was easy. And we had a young Tommy Whitney who is a nice fast bowler, but swings the new ball as well. So it was pretty easy to go with those 2. And then, just let the game sort of dictate what needed to happen, and went from there.
I think you got probably one of the best frontline bowling attacks, mate, in the competition. I mean, Xavier Bartlett, he's come lengths from where he's come from. Spencer Johnson, I mean, we unearthed him a couple of years ago. what is your assessment, I guess, on your bowling lineup at full strength, and then maybe like something a bit about Spencer Johnson? What's he like?
Yeah, I think to answer the first part of your question, I think a lot of people sort of said that's probably what won us the premiership last year. I mean, batters win your games, but your bowlers win you the tournament. And we just the whole attack. I think I saw a stat the other day that was like all 6 of us, so including Tall Paul plus the 5 bowlers that are bowling now, bowled every over for the Heat last year, bar like 3 balls from Buddha in the prelim
Oh, and
final
he got
or
wickets
something.
as
And
well.
he got
He
2
got
wickets, and the game was over. So, mate, that's an outrageous stat that like we went with the same 6 bowlers for a whole tournament. And having the 6 bowling options, I think, really helped us as well, because one guy doesn't go so well. You've got one guy back up there to sort of pick up where someone's, if someone's having an off day or something. So that's been something we've sort of battled with the last few games, not having Ness, and then not having Tall Paul for these last few games. We've had to play with 5 bowlers. So, it's been a bit difficult with that. But getting to your point about Spon, he bowls fast. His left arm, so it's a different sort of, he swings it, and he's just confident. He gets in the contest. He's got like a fast bowler's mentality, and I think all those things put together, he's a force to be reckoned with when he's on.
Now, so I'm throwing back to one of the earlier games in the season. Me and the fam went down and watched probably maybe the best game of the season, I'd say. Clutch. Mitch Swepson, last ball, full bunger, hits the winning runs. What were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, similar to like Steph Curry from bowling 3.1 with like 0.5 to go.
You need the ice in the veins.
Yeah. So, oh mate, I'd much rather have the ball in my hand for the last ball than have a stick in my hand. It was bloody nerve wracking. I was trying to get everything out of Buddha from the other end, saying, mate, just tell me what to do here, because like I'm shitting it. And
was it just a spray and pray?
Pretty much, mate. Like I remember I had a chat to Buddha. He just said, like, mate, get bat on ball for this last ball. Just, I'm coming, we're running. If it's a super over, so be it. We'll win the super over, something like that. That was it. And so I walked back to my mark and I sort of looked down and thought, okay, bat on ball. And as I look up, everyone looks like it literally looked like everyone was 5 meters away from me. So I was like, for some reason, this thought just comes over. I'm going to swing as hard as I can here.
I think that's the best option.
Stuff the plan.
Just trying to get bat on ball to just going, I'm swinging as hard as I can. And he threw it wide, which rattled me, because I thought we need one to win. You got to hit the stumps. I thought he would have bowled the stumps. So I sort of stayed a bit leg side. I only just managed to get some stick on it, and luckily the grey Nick saved me there. I think any other bat, I'm probably caught a point there, but.
Yeah. Shout out Great Nick.
Yeah.
The Kaboom of the younger days.
They'll be
Great.
listening.
Every time I hear a story about Buddha Swep, is that he's a very like articulate, switched on, cricket brain type of guy. Awesome bloke as well. Does that sort of reflect the type of person he is?
Yeah, mate. He's very smart cricketer. What's impressed me, I guess, over the last few years, since he's left Queensland, was how fast his progression has gone. Like when he left us, he was a gun, and we knew he was going to be good. But it surprised me how quickly he's improved, and I'm not surprised that he's playing Test cricket now. We played him recently in the Shield, and bloody hell, I was struggling to bowl to him. He was just and in a one day game he scored 100 against us as well. So he's just he's gone from strength to strength, and like you said, he's someone that you love having around the environment. He makes he sort of feels like he makes everyone better in that environment. So hence why he's been captain of the Heat, and he's captain in South Australia, and I'm sure he'll do a lot more skippering in the future.
Well, he did captain the premiership last year when Munners went away and Uzi was away with Test duty. We were talking off podcast at the premiere actually for the Reignite documentary. That was probably like one of your best moments in your whole career, other than probably getting your baggy green.
Yeah.
Just reflecting on BBL 13, you've sort of gone through probably one of the worst times in the Brisbane Heat history after losing, and then to finally get there in BBL 12, then lose it, and then to finally win in BBL 13. It's some documentary, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It was. I was really impressed. It brought back some tough memories, but it obviously, the where we got to last year, and all that build up and all that struggle, and the years where we were just struggling to find our sort of identity. We had an identity, but it was just like we can't win games with this identity. And so to go through all those years and finally get some reward for, I think myself and Jimmy probably the two that have been there for a really long. Maybe Maxi Bryant's probably been there for 7 or 8 years now. So
He's an ego.
yeah, he's mate.
Can't believe he's only 25.
Yeah,
Feels like he's been around forever.
Yeah, it does. Because we got him in real young as sort of a talent, and I think it's showing now that he's that talent sort of finally coming out, and
Arrival.
Yeah, he's smacking it, mate. He's gone.
Aside from like obviously losing, that period of the Brisbane Heat, it had to be fun. Like Chris Lynn, AB de Villiers, Morkel. Like there's superstars and superstars in this team.
It was, mate. I sometimes have to like pinch myself when I think about some of the guys I've shared a dressing room with, and
AB.
AB's a massive one. That's elite. Like I love telling people that I've got AB's number in my phone.
Imagine we were just like, can you call him, mate? Thanks.
Would he pick up?
Oh, geez, he wouldn't pick up.
He'd say, like, this is really random.
Yeah, I don't reckon he'd have my number. Put it that way.
What was it like bowling to like prime Lenny, obviously, but AB in the nets? Is it like, like I don't know what to bowl?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm actually like a big fan of not bowling in the nets to those guys because it's just like your confidence just goes
side strain.
So we actually a lot of the bowlers do a lot of like target stuff in the nets, like at the end, so that you get sort of so many guys are worried about the ball coming back at them in the nets, like especially with those guys that hit it hard and flat. And
I don't know how the umpires do it some games.
Yeah, we see a few of them wearing the helmet and. Big Ox is gone with his shield.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that come back. But yeah.
Well, Jared Abood was wearing some lovely shades the other night with the helmet on. So
yeah, they're pretty happy with their work. Some of the umps, they're a bit of mayo there. But yeah.
Any AB stories that you can tell?
I'm struggling to think off the top of my head with AB. I remember the last sort of game we played. We had a good night out. I think we won in Melbourne, and he was there. He had his wife there as well, and he was real sort of nice, really generous with his time. He taught, you walk past him, you think that's AB de Villiers, like he's not going to even give me the time of day to have a chat. But I reckon everyone in the squad felt like they were mates with him when he was there. So that's probably a good, I guess, indicator of the character he is. And he was really good to have. I don't really have any specific stories that I can think off the top of my head. That innings in Melbourne that he played was unbelievable.
You got like 80 or 70 odds?
Yeah, he got going, and once he got going, he didn't stop, and they had no idea where to bowl him, which is fair enough. But
one of the greatest things I like to say to people is that the Brisbane Heat social media page have the most followers out of any club in Oceania. So you think Melbourne
That's
Storm,
a lovely flex.
You think
flex.
Melbourne Storm, Collingwood, Brisbane Broncos, like this Brisbane club have the most followers, and I mean,
is that across socials?
Across all socials, yeah. So you think of like the ABs, the Morkels, the Lins. There's a big reason why with that. Yeah. Can you sort of maybe evaluate why we are the biggest? Almost?
Yeah, well, I think it's just that. I think that era, the Bash brothers, the big
Baz,
names,
of course.
AB,
even early days like Haydos and stuff like that.
Haydos, Flintoff was there for a bit. Like the biggest names in cricket all wanted to come and play at the Brisbane Heat, and it's like, I think that you're always going to build a fan base around those personalities, and that's certainly something that they did well. And we're sort of, I guess, reaping the benefits now of there's so many followers around us, but just a bunch of locals going at it now.
and winning.
Punters is pretty good.
And winning.
Yeah, and winning.
Where do you see us finishing up this year? Can we win the 2 in a row?
No, we can definitely win it. I think a lot of teams would probably hate us being in the finals. So if we can get there, we've got that confidence of being in the finals last year with basically the same group. There's no reason why if we get to the finals we can't go all the way. I think sometimes being in that 1-2 game and then having that bit of a break can be a negative. So if we're going to have to go from sort of that 4-3 position, I think sometimes that's the best way to go about it. Keep playing. I'm certainly confident that if we get there, we can go all the way.
Now, Swep, test cap 464.
That's it.
Bang. Now, obviously you were picked in a lot of squads, but took a while to finally debut against Pakistan. Was that maybe stressful, or was it like, I'm so happy to be around this environment?
I Well, I think debuting's always stressful. You sort of you always picture how things are going to go, and you never really know until you whack on the cap and get out there and bowl a few. And
Dream of a lifetime, though.
Yeah, it was, mate. It was kind of off the back end of sort of COVID-y period. So unfortunately, I didn't have any like family or friends over there in Pakistan. It was sort of like a bit of plus there was like a bit of security stuff involved. So no families really travelled. So I actually remember the morning of the game, I got a FaceTime from deck, and all the guys there at the Noosa Surf Club having a big day on the punt. Yeah. And I've actually got a screenshot of them all there, like wishing me luck. And so there was little things like that. Obviously called home and stuff. So, those things build the nerves a bit more. And then, I obviously remember Uzi giving me my cap, made a few jokes in his speech, which helped relax me a bit as well. So, the whole lead up and everything, I was shitting it. But it was, to get that cap's just, childhood dream come true. And,
Do you have a vivid memory of your first Test wicket?
Well, funny you say that. I actually got a run out before I got a wicket. So I bowled my first over. Yeah, I bowled my first over, and I remember walking like out to backward point. Gaz was bowling at the other end, and I go, "Holy shit! I just bowled an over in Test cricket." And I'm like thinking that to myself, and before you know it, I can't remember who it was. One of their lefties squirted one out to me, and I'm there thinking about my first over that I've just bowled, and I've just run up one hand, picked it up, thrown at the stumps, out.
Just
instinct just took over. And like all I thought then was, I can go numb for this whole Test match. At least I've got to run out. I've taken a wicket. I'd like give myself that. So, but I definitely remember that first wicket. I remember it pretty well. Bubba Azam.
Good pole.
Yeah, it was the first ball of an over, I think, and he was obviously trying to. I think he was batting with the tail by then. Might have been 8 or 7 down, and he ran down at me, tried to park me over my head, and luckily skewed it to Uz it long off. And,
sorry, Baba. What were the decks like? Because I remember, especially in Sri Lanka, that tour, not pretty.
It's a tough initiation, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't want to say road, but
I'd probably rather bowl on the Bruce Highway, to be honest. It was, it was. I thought they were gonna be flat, but I didn't expect them to be that flat. Like they were. Look, I'm glad I didn't debut in Rawalpindi. That was the first Test, and I think there was one innings basically. So like each team just batted once, and then they had a little crack at one session. So that would have literally. I mean, you saw the series just gone. They played 2 Tests back to back on the same wicket against England. I think that was that series. So like that's sort of the kind of wickets that we were getting there. It was like you could have played 10-day Tests on them, and they were that good. So tough initiation. But I think at the time I was actually pretty glad that I was thrown in that way. It kind of made me think this is how hard Test cricket is, and it should be. And it made me sort of hungry to sort of go, well, where's my game at? Do I need to get better? What do I need to work on? And all those things. So, I would have loved to have, taken a bag full and gone real well there. And, I'm flying there, but it also made me hungrier and made me realise I've got to get better. And so it was silver lining there, I guess.
I think one of the great things about touring the subcontinent is that it's completely different to what you would expect when you're touring England for sake. The security wise and all that stuff. I'm sure you've got a moment or a story where you go, holy shit, like this is full on.
Yeah, mate. Just getting off the plane in Pakistan was crazy. Like I think it might have been a chartered flight. So we land and it was like you stay in your seats for a good 20 minutes till they got the whole airport was closed. They had 2 bulletproof buses basically waiting on the tarmac to pick us up. So we get straight off the plane. There's guys with bloody assault rifles lined down the roads. They close all the roads. Every 100 meters there's a guy with a rifle in hand. And just like I'd never seen anything like it. But by the end of the tour, it was just like you just got used to it. So but then I vividly remember that first getting off the plane and just walking into that world and going, holy, like this is crazy. So, but it just also shows like the lengths that country's gone to get cricket back in their country. Like they love it so much, they want cricket to be there, and they'll do anything to have cricket in their country. So it's amazing, and the passion that they had, their fans were good. They appreciated us being there. So hopefully there's more cricket in Pakistan.
And I mean, you went from Pakistan to Sri Lanka, is that correct? And you were telling me off podcast about how they tampered with the wickets, and they would tamper with Australia's practice wickets, and then Sri Lanka's wickets would replicate the pitch. and your wickets would just be completely different to what you were expecting.
Yeah, tampering's probably the wrong word. They probably they prepared they prepared sort of. They have like roped off Sri Lankan wickets and they have roped off Australian wickets. And I remember in Sri Lanka we sort of like just to do some drill work. Some of the spinners like jumped the rope and we were just bowling down into the net, and the groundies sort of came over and were having none of it. They're like, you can't bowl here. You got to get out of here. So. I actually love it. I think when you travel away, it should be as hard as they should make it as hard as possible for you to win there. And like we're so accommodating here. Like we give them, I think the Indians, they played like a 3-day game on the Wacker or something, like an inch squat. Like you're not getting
and they
that.
closed
You're
it
not
off
getting
as well.
that.
There was no
like that last test. We needed a draw, and we give them absolute green top to like get a result. Like if. Not saying other countries would do it, but they probably would. They just make a road, make sure it's a draw.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and I remember in Sri Lanka, sorry mate, when they won that second game, they wanted the trophy and everything, right?
They walked off with it. It was actually hilarious. Like it was like, I think we retained it.
Yeah,
is that right? Like I think Australia won the last series in Australia, so it's actually Australia's trophy because it was 1-1. But they won the last test, grabbed the trophy, were taking photos with it like 100 meters away, like on one of the square leg boundaries, and. The boys were kind of like, don't know how this sits with us. Like, they haven't won that. Yeah, so, that was a funny moment.
Sort of talking about before those two tours, a lot of 12th man duties. Yeah. I'm sure there'd be some hilarious stories of like weird requests from players. Yeah, bringing out gloves to smudge every second over. Yeah. Any stories there?
Yeah, there's some standard ones like Smudge's. I think he's every 15 minutes. So you can what I enjoy about that is if you switched on as a 12th, he's going to call for it. But there's guys that aren't switched on and he'll put the hand up at the end of the over. And if you're not watching, it's you don't want to run out there. But I've had some weird requests. Marnus was like hungry one game, and he was like. He was signalling something, so I've run out of drink, and then he said, mate, I'm hungry, can you just get us a bread roll? And I was like, okay, I'll go get you a bread roll. So the next break, I've run out of bread roll, and he's put half of it in his mouth and goes, oh, geez, it's a bit dry. Mate, would you just mind whacking some butter on it? So I've had to run off,
go to the kitchen.
It in half, put some butter on, and then run him out a buttered bread roll. So that was a weird request. He also requested for a lighter at one point because he burns the like you get little frills that come down off your helmet and he burns them off but like he's literally like signaled like
you would have got some weird looks.
He wants to smoke. Like what's going on here? So
need some head spins.
Oh yeah, there's some weird requests, mate. But yeah, a lot of 12th. It's a thankless job, definitely.
Yeah.
Is Smudger everything you see on TV and more? Really?
Yeah, I think so. He's
lovable.
Yeah. Oh, look, he's the ultimate professional. He's done what he's done for so long now, and he has his processes that he just sticks to. So, and that's why he's the GOAT. That's why he's the best, mate. He just does what he does so well. He's a professional. He studies the game a lot. And yeah, he likes things particular because he feels that it puts him in the best space to perform, and fair to him.
Do you ever have a laugh that like? He was once you, just bowling leggies. Obviously, he had a freak hand-eye coordination, but like, did you ever talk to him about that?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that transition to happen with me. Like, my batting's just not really taking
maybe
off.
Those game-winning runs were a sort of initiation.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, no, that is weird. Like, he debuted batting at 8, didn't he, bowling leggies?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I actually remember when I debuted, I think he put a post up or like tweeted or something saying like, glad to see another leg spinner finally getting a crack. And I think he was the last leg spinner that got picked for Australia before. So, it's crazy how time changes things. But, yeah, I'm glad he made that transition to top order bat.
It was sort of a weird era after the GOAT Warne. Like, Australia were just desperate for someone to maybe not imitate him, but maybe a new leggy or an off spinner. Do you think, obviously, Warne's the GOAT, but like leggy's just such a hard skill, probably the hardest in cricket. Do you think people just sort of give it away?
Definitely. I think it's one of the hardest skills to sort of stick at. It's one of those ones where you can feel like your game's just on the rise, like you're getting better and better, and all of a sudden you hit a cliff and it just like the next day you can rock up and it's like, why is the ball not coming out like it was yesterday? So I think that mental side of it is the biggest battle with leg spin bowling. Something that even now, still like I'm 31, have played, 80 or so first class games, and I still have days where I'm like, why is it not happening like it was yesterday? So, definitely a hard skill to stick at, and it's just one of those things you have to grind through.
It's the hardest discipline in cricket.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Kerry Keefe said that.
I might be biased, but yeah.
Do you ever resent like watching spinners who are basically like part timers who are basically buying media meds, like just darting in? You're like, come on, mate.
Oh,
I'm trying to loop it up.
Yeah,
here.
a little bit. I mean, a little bit. Yeah, I think it's when the conditions suit. Sometimes that actually works better. Yeah. Which that gives me the Brad Pitts. That's like that's proper. Like you can just put absolutely nothing on it, and if the wicket's it's conducive to that. Like some of the spinners, like Rangan Herath, made a career out of it. He put nothing on him, but he was just elite at putting it on a spot, and the conditions just did the rest of the work for him. He was one of the greats at doing that. So yeah, it's just that's just part of the game, though, isn't it?
Do you have a funniest or a moment that stands out when you just laughed your head off in the Test arena? Like just the funniest sort of story or moment?
Oh, geez. I can't actually think of anything off the top of my head.
Because there is a few characters in that team. Like Mitch Marsh.
That lighter
character. Yeah. Like minus there'd be some stories.
Yeah, there would be. You're right. Mitch Marsh, he's great to have around. Like everything that you see in the the media and stuff, that's him. Yeah, he's I've great times at the T20 World Cup in Dubai 2021. That was probably, I didn't play a game that trip. It was in a bubble, so it was like we were pretty much confined to the hotel. It was like a golf resort though, so you could like go and play golf and stuff, but you're pretty much confined to the hotel. And that whole tour, there was no other Queenslanders. There was no like guys that I was really good mates with on that trip, but I got picked for it. And I was sort of thinking, geez, who am I going to chill out with here? Nathan Ellis was a travelling reserve, so I sort of was good mates with him on that trip. But I specifically remember a night where I'd gone to bed and I was rooming next to Nathan Ellis, and at about 11:30, I got a bang on my door saying like, wake up. And I'm like, oh, geez, get out of bed, stumble out, open the door. Nellie's there, opened the door as well, and we looked down the corridor, and Matthew Wade's just slammed on our doors saying, you two, come on, we're going to my room. And we sort of like all walk out of the room, still in the PJs, like I'm wearing like shorts and a singlet, and I was like, hang on, let me throw a shirt on and go down to the room. And the boys have just been at golf basically for all day. They've come back to Wadey's room and they're ordering cocktails from the bar downstairs to Wadey's room. Everyone in there is basically hammered. and it's 11. I've been asleep for 2 hours, and I go in and I'm drinking cocktails at 11:30 at night with all the lads because they'd realised that me and Nelly were pretty much the only two not in the room. So they'd woken us up, and pretty much after that, we won the World Cup, that T20 World Cup, but it was basically a big fizz trip, mate. It was one of the greats. So I had some great times on that trip, some really funny times there. So yeah, I'm trying to pinpoint one specific funny story, but
maybe that's the catalyst for winning.
Yeah,
cocktails.
It can be times, mate. I honestly reckon, I'm not trying to plug alcohol that much, but it brings you together. It brings you together, mate. Like. And people don't drink,
good
that's
times,
fine.
right?
But I think it's just the bringing the teams together. And like I said, I didn't know many of the guys that well on that trip, but you have a few cocktails with them and you get to know them real well.
It's like the stories Skull tells about like the 70s and stuff, and then like the S&C guys going, warm up, boys, and like Keith Miller's going like, all right, and smokes a ciggy. I'm warming up.
Yeah.
It's like, most of the stories are just alcohol based.
Oh, I know, mate. I imagine back in the day it would have been some loose stories there. So yeah, I don't have any of them off the top of my head, but yeah, there was good times there.
Obviously, Aussie is away with the Test team, which gave you the opportunity to captain the side. Of course, Marnus is now the captain of the Bulls, but that would have been a great experience for you, and you were taking some good polls and good figures in the Shield before the Big Bash started. Is it something you can see yourself doing for another 2, 3 years, 4 years before you retire?
Yeah, mate, I'll be honest, it came on as a bit of surprise because obviously Jimmy was our captain last year when Uzi wasn't around, and then they sort of made a transition into Marnie being captain this year, and I think I just assumed that sort of Jimmy would do it when I wasn't there, but we sort of had a bit of a rejig, and we did some. We actually did a leadership sort of chat with Hook, Anthony Griffin from obviously used to coach the Bronx, and he came in and did sort of a leadership chat. Basically, got us all in together and to talk about where we want to go as a squad, and the result of that was basically we sort of all came together and worked out who we wanted our leadership group to be, and so that's kind of how it came about. Me captaining, and I probably wouldn't have taken the role if it didn't come from the players. So that's kind of why I think I accepted the role, and Jimmy was really good about it. He's a great fella. He's a great mate of mine too. So I had to check in with him, and he's probably been the biggest help for me as a captain as well. He's been out there at all the games I've captained and been someone to lean on. So, look, mate, I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, would have liked to have had a few more wins as a Bulls squad. We're sort of one win in the Shield. We're going okay in the one-dayers. I think we're still a chance at the final there. So we're sort of building, and I think we get some players back from injury. We haven't had Ness for a while. So we've been short a bowler there and a batter. He's pretty good. So we're building pretty well, and I'm enjoying it, mate. It's good.
Would I be right in saying that you would rather a Shield title over a Big Bash title?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of fans wouldn't understand that. Like the Shield is probably weighs heavier with players than it does for the Big Bash.
Yeah, it does, and I think it might sound weird too because there's only 5 other teams, so it's you think it's easier to win, but you spend 8 months of the year probably working towards that. The Big Bash is like a little month tournament where, you work hard on your white ball game, but I think every cricketer that's playing professional cricket wants to play Test cricket. Yeah, it's the pinnacle, and the Shield is as close as it gets to Test cricket as you can get, basically. So it's a strong competition. It's so hard to get Shield wins, and when you get them, they're some of the best memories and moments. The sharing a Shield win with those boys. So, and I've been lucky enough to be part of two Shield wins. So hopefully there's more to come.
Speaking of moments, I want to throw back to 2019 season against Victoria, hat trick.
Yeah,
for you. One of those stranger hat tricks. 3 LBWs. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah. And
the last wicket against the king of hat tricks himself, Peter Siddle. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah. Happily. I forget his first name, but Wardy was the umpire. 3 LBWs, so I probably should have shouted him a beer after the game.
I think that was Plum looking back.
Well, the first one was Plum. The second one, dubious. Round the wicket to James Pattinson, spun a bit, maybe missing leg, but he gave that one out. And then I think it was ended the over. So then first ball the next over. Sid's falls down.
This is the moment.
I'd been on a hat trick a few times, and I'd pretty much always bowled a wrong one. Like I always just try and bowl a wrong because like if they're not going to pick one,
tail-ender as well.
Tail-ender usually. So, and this time I was like, you know what, I'm just going to bowl like a faster cross seam leg break. Like, and if it spins, he might nick it, and if it doesn't, it'll hit him on the pad. Sure enough, he just missed the seam, skidded on, smacked him on the pad, and that was salmon.
We'll get some footage up.
That was Plum, that one.
Yeah, that was definitely out. So, and I think a few of the boys didn't quite know it was a hat trick because it was between overs, and I carried on because I knew it was. And I think once a few of the boys got around me, they realised, oh, that was actually a hat trick. So it was a pretty funny moment.
How do you celebrate that? I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do either. The footage would probably be hilarious.
I was watching it earlier. You did like the big like.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's around me, boys.
You're turning Super Saiyan.
Yeah, shock. I'm not surprised. I watched a bit of DBZ in my time. So, I like all of my cricket, even juniors, all that stuff, never taken a hat trick. So that's my only one. So pretty cool that it was at the G.
Mate, would you say that leg spins sort of come from Shane Warne? And like, obviously, he's had an impact on so many different people. And you would have some great stories, I guess, of you working with him and what he's been able to teach you. Yeah,
absolutely. Warnie was he was definitely my inspiration. I think growing up, my favourite player was Andrew Simons, as probably was a lot of players around my age. You know, bat, bowl, field, the dreadlocks, the zinc.
Yeah, everything.
The big unit. He was my favourite player growing up. But as soon as I started bowling leg spin, my biggest inspiration was definitely Warnie. He was at the peak of his powers in those early 2000s, and that's sort of when I started bowling leggies. And to be able to, I guess, model myself in a way, or at least learn everything I knew about leg spin from him, just from watching and YouTube clips and things like that, to then being able to actually meet him in person and talk about leg spin bowling. And yeah, it's a bit of a pinch me moment. I remember I was struggling a little bit. It might have been 2017 or 2018 in the Big Bash. I just couldn't get any rhythm. I ended up sending him a Instagram message and just saying, mate, I'd love to have a bowl with you. I've just got a few things that I'm struggling through at the moment. And he replied straight back to me. He sort of said, mate, I'm actually interviewing your game on at Adelaide Oval, so I'll have a bowl with you in the nets. So I remember going down to the nets, got there 3 hours before the game. Warnie's there, and he just started talking through things, stuff that I was struggling with, and he sort of said, gave me heaps of tips that really worked for him. And then sort of half an hour into having a bowl with him, Dan Vittori, who was our coach, walks in, and then they're both sort of standing at the top of my mark, sort of talking about my bowling, and I'm there bowling in the nets, and the two greatest spinners of my era that I've watched,
it's insane.
They're talking about my bowling, and it's just a massive pinch me moment for me. I can remember that session vividly, but I had plenty of other catch ups with Warnie, and he always had good things to say about my bowling. So yeah, he was great for me, and it's a shame he's not around now. I'd love to be able to have a beer and ask a few more questions, but yeah, he was a legend.
Probably the best man to have a beer with as well.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, you should ask him for funny stories. He would have had plenty.
Well, when
plenty
Crash
of
was
funny
on,
stories.
when Crash was on, he was selling some absolute bangers.
Yeah.
So he was very good.
What was the story about? Like Warnie loved a donut or something.
Donut. Oh no, it was baked beans.
Oh yeah,
It was baked beans on
Warnie just loved baked beans.
Yeah, he shipped a
Shipped
few
a
over
few
to
over
India,
baked
didn't he?
beans.
Yeah, and then
that's
he
right.
had a go at Crash, and he was like, "Oh, this isn't true." And then Crash comes back in, and he's eating baked beans.
and he ended up getting a media deal with him, like $7,000
Yeah, half
or
your
something
luck.
like that.
Yeah.
So half your luck, exactly right. Maybe a couple more questions and we'll finish up because we do appreciate you coming on
it's all
mid-season.
good.
So
we
it's
do
fun.
like a yap.
Yeah, we do like a yap. Big Bash, back to Big Bash, sorry. This year, you're going to win. I'm backing you boys in again, obviously. Your favourite Brisbane Heat story, and then maybe two more and we'll finish up.
Favourite Brisbane Heat story? Oh, it'd have to be after the win. We had we pretty much drank the SCG dry.
Yeah, but the celebration's wild. Like,
Yeah.
who was best on? Like Cooney, I know he's best on normally.
Yeah,
Like,
Cooney
he's
was
pretty
good. Look, I'll be honest, mate. I think we were all good. We had a smoky. Charlie Wakeham was in the squad, and he was down there in Sydney, and he ended up taking over the pub we went to after. I'll get there actually, because we were at the SCG. We spent plenty of time there. We had all our families and sponsors and stuff there as well. So the alcohol was flowing, beers were flowing, and by an hour and a half, 2 hours after the game, we'd run out of alcohol, and we sort of, well, surely there's more. It's the SCG. They got to have more somewhere, and all kept coming up short. So there was a funny story. There was I can't remember his name. I'm sorry if he watches this, but there was a guy there who was mates with someone. I don't know how he knew, but he kept telling us that he could get alcohol into the SCG because he knew a cab driver who drives around Sydney with full of alcohol in the back of his car, like basically
Someone's
like a black
been
market.
exposed here.
Yeah. So anyway, he's like, just let me know, boys. Like 20 minutes, I can have alcohol here if you want it. And he's like, okay. Anyway, we've decided after 20 minutes nothing happened, so we decided, mate, you're Cactus. We're going somewhere else. The only pub that was open was like the Piedmont Bridge Hotel, I think. So we've gone.
It was a Wednesday night.
Yeah. So we've gone over to the Piedmont Bridge Hotel. They had no music on, and the only thing they had to play music was a jukebox. So we've all gathered around this jukebox for hours and hours. And Charlie Wakeham was on, mate. He was playing absolute bangers. If he's ever on the aux chord, you're gonna have a good time. Yeah. He was playing some good bangers. But yeah, everyone was on, mate. It was a great night. I think we got about half an hour's sleep before we had to be on a plane back. And then we ended up doing the parade in Queen Street.
Yeah, I
Mall.
remember that.
We went to the Jubilee. We had a Jubilee Hotel put on an event for us there as well. So we had a big night there.
Good spot.
Yeah. And then we ended up going to the test.
I'd love some footage of that Jubilee.
Yeah.
Closed off.
That Jubilee footage.
Yeah. There's some good memories there.
Was there sore heads the next day, or did it really have to compound a couple of days later?
No, there were sore heads. I think everyone was wearing shades at the Queen Street Mall. There would have been some red eyes there, I reckon.
Heat packs on the neck.
Yeah.
It's such a good moment. I remember talking to the analyst, Charles Evans, actually, one of the great guys in the Brisbane Heat setup. And he was telling me how he works through his computer system and how basically he plugs in all this stats and then it shits out all this information. Yeah. And basically the moral of the story is he told me, he goes, all right, so if we wanted someone to play at the Gabba, we're thinking wide dimension square. So we wanted someone who can bowl short into the wicket, who can bowl a slow ball. And then I remember him telling me that Bickle wanted someone that can execute 18, 19, 20, 20th overs. And he goes, right, we plug it into the computer and it shits out these names for the BBL draft that year. And one name kept on popping up all the time. And it was Tall Paul. And they drafted him. And I was just like, mate, that is insane.
Yeah,
That's an icon.
Insane.
I didn't even know that. So there you go. But he was a revelation last year, big Tall Paul. He I think like that 6 bowling role where he doesn't have to bowl his 4 overs, but he helps out with a fair few. He just did that job so well, and then he
hit a bomb.
Absolutely whacks him. So handy player.
Hate using the word long levers, but that's a serious long lever.
Serious long levers.
Yeah.
No, we love that. And mate, we know you're a big NRL fan, and we started as an NRL podcast before we transitioned here. Still going. No. But who's your team? Is it the Broncos?
It is the Broncos.
It is the Broncos. Did you give you much chance this year?
Oh, look, I think so. I think as a Broncos fan, you always feel like you're a chance.
Except if you're
Big
2020.
What was Declan like to say? They're the only team listed on the ASX or something like that. So they should win every year.
They should. Yeah, they really should. As a Broncos fan, I always feel like we should be playing finals. And they missed out on that granny. Still don't like talking about that, but
it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah. The one that slipped through the fingers, and then last year was a bit of a struggle.
You can almost replicate the BBL 12 final to that Broncos thing. To be honest, it was a tough year for Brisbane.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
Lions as well lost that year.
Lions lost. Yeah.
Yeah, brutal.
Jesus.
I didn't realise that, but still a Bronx fan. There was a few dark years there where I was like, and I think it was actually right when the Dolphins were about to come in, and I was like, my dad played for Redcliffe Dolphins. Oh, yeah. Not I think he rugby union, but he played he played for Redcliffe, and I was like, geez, they're testing me here. Should I make the transition when the Dolphins come in? And I stuck with them, and then they obviously made the grand final. So
Could be you made that transition.
I made the transition.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't really a Broncos fan, as some of my mates like to say.
I would say that's a bandwagon move, but it's literally the opposite.
Yeah, like we haven't
because you moved and then they made the GF.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
reverse
it's
bandwagon.
True. I reckon one of my favourite moments in the Test documentary is when you're wearing your Queensland jersey in front of all the New South Wales boys. I'm pretty sure you're in that.
Yeah,
and you're just giving it to them.
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
Origin was on.
Oh, mate, Origin. Love Origin, as every Queenslander does, but yeah, there was plenty of blue baggers there, and that was right at the end too. I think I can't remember exactly how they won, but someone made like a try-saving tackle right in front of the sticks, and they all just thought they were getting over, and absolutely gave it to them. So
yeah, when my brother McLean played for the Waratahs for a bit, he was obviously the only Queenslander, and I think we lost that year, and I forget what challenge he had to do, but it wasn't great. So it's pretty unfair for the one Queensland guy if they lose, but yeah.
Mate, Swep, thank you so much for coming on. All the best for the next couple of days. We got Hobart Thursday, Gades, Melbourne on the Saturday. 2 wins and we're in, so all the best. I'm sure you and the boys will smack them over and we'll win the comp, I'm sure, back to back.
We'll be trying our best, boys.
Might live bet the Heat to win it all on Ladbrokes.
Yeah, you can do that.
They're listening.
Yeah.
We won't be, but you can do that. Yeah.
I definitely can't do that.
Is this insider trading?
No, thank you so much, mate. Appreciate your time. And if you're following, make sure to get out of the Gabba because Sweppo's going to be bowling a 5 on Thursday night, I'm sure.
Hope so. Cheers, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Swep.
Thanks, Swep.